An 8-bit Rocket Studios production.
Into the vertical blank.
This is 8-Bit Jeff here. We are starting a video series that covers all of the game releases for Atari machines by various companies. We started with Exocet for the Atari ST, but for the Atari 8-bits, we are starting with Analog Magazine's machine language type-in games because they were very high quality. First up for the Atari 8-bit computers is Blast with an exclamation point. I started recording this with a webcam pointed at the Atari XE onto my HDMI screen, but the look was washed out, unlike the Atari ST where it looked fantastic. So I swapped out the camera for an OBS, that's OBS Studios, recording session of Altira, the emulator. I usually don't like to emulate games for videos, but this is the best I could do for this one. Blast, with an exclamation point, was written by a high school student named Stephen Grimm in 1986 for the issue 44 of Analog Magazine. Okay, on to the game. Hey, this is 8-Bit Jeff here, and what you're looking at on the screen right now is a game called Blast for the Atari 8-bit computers. And this is the first in a series of videos we're going to do on the games from Analog Computing Magazine. The reason we're doing these is there's a lot of games from Analog Computing that I've never played, and maybe other people haven't played them either. A lot of games are great, and I did play them, but we're going to go through those also. But I'm going to start with the ones I haven't played. So the first one that I played that really sort of struck me as, hey, this game's pretty damn good, is Blast, which is by Stephen Grimm. It came out in issue 44 of Analog Magazine in 1986, July of 1986. And Stephen was a high schooler at the time. It's a fully machine language game, and it's based on a game called Ceiling Zero for the Apple IIe. Now, that's not anywhere in the article about the game. In fact, I did see that on Atari Mania, but I knew that already because I had played Ceiling Zero on Eric Barth's Apple IIe down the street in the vertical blank. Now, this is a very interesting game. It's not complicated. It's well made, and it uses a lot of the Atari 800's capabilities in sort of sly ways. Uses a lot of soft sprites to get a lot of enemies on the screen moving independently, not in rows or columns, but independently, moving throughout various vertical and horizontal planes, meaning they had to use either a combination of soft sprites and regular sprites or player missile graphics to do it. And these are the same techniques that are being used today to make brand new games for the Ataris, such as Bosconian and Time Pilot, among other fantastic games that are coming out. So let's take a look at an early game that was trying to push the limits. And we have to remember that at this time in 1986, there was very few software coming out for the Atari 8-bits. The XEGS system was just starting to come out. Atari was pushing some older software that had been put out. There was a trickle of software coming out from the UK in the form of cheap $1.99 cassettes, but this game was free in a magazine. You could download it, things like that. But really, Analog, Antic, Page 6, some of the other Atari magazines was really the only place to get brand new games. So let's check out Blast. It's not revolutionary, but it's really fun. you shoot those are 7 of your Earth ships that have been stolen, and you get an extra ship every time you shoot one of those ones that comes down. If it hits you, you die though. Now I'm not going to shoot any for a little bit. Oh wait, I got to get 12, and then the ceiling comes down. So I think I'm more to get. Okay, I'm not going to shoot any. I'm going to let as many of these guys. I guess the extra. I'm going to let as many of these sort of jump around the screen as possible because I'm just dodging them. Because it certainly shows a lot of soft sprites moving independently on the screen, and these are moving independently. So these aren't tiles. There's 6 here. Maybe the most you get is 6. But definitely not player missile graphics. Most likely they are green graphics that are being plotted to the screen and then erased. Probably XOR, but they never cross each other. I haven't seen it. If they cross each other, you get to see the XOR. And so that's a technical term for erasing, plotting and erasing graphics onto the screen with the full reverse operation. I want to get to that. But anyway, so interested in the game. This is an Apple IIe game called Alien Zero. I don't remember anything about the actual story of Alien Zero. I do know that we played it on the Apple IIe. And the thing about this game is the better you do, the worse off you get because the ceiling lowers. And anyway, it's really hard. There's a harder version. Once you get through all of it, you go to the next version, the hard version, and supposedly it's impossible. But the author has said that he actually solved it twice, or finished the game twice. And what's so great about Alien Zero? Yeah, it looks a little bit like an Atari 2600 game. Pretty good. Decent graphics. But it's actually fun. It's a really fun little shooter. Unique in the way the ceiling comes down. Reminds me a little bit of Super Breakout in a way, and that's the end of my game. So let's, we're going to do something. We're going to try fast and hard just to see what the next level would be. So we'll do hard, and I think F1, F4. Let's try this. Let's see how hard fast and hard is, because I was terrible at the slow version. So he starts up higher this time, which I think makes it a little bit easier. Gives you an easier chance of shooting the 7 ships that were captured so you can get extra would have been kind of cool if when you captured one of those, it would have been double ships like in Galaga, but maybe I'll make that game. Alien Zero mixed with Galaga. But I wouldn't want to get 3 ships because that'd be interesting though. The more that you capture, the more bolt-ons you would get. So it would bolt on more weapons or something. Maybe I'll try that for my 7800 game. My ST game. It's coming down. Pretty good for a magazine game. Most magazine typing games were not this elaborate. I know this, and there's some incredible games in Analog Magazine that were like, people would say, you could never make Tempest, and then of course they made a game like Tempest called Livewire. There are other games like that too. Of course, Tempest has been made later on by There was even a Tempest prototype that came out around the time for that was made that was used as a basis for a game. Anyway, that is Blast for the Atari 8-bits, the first game in our analog series. I know it wasn't long. I got a score of 120 on fast and hard. Why don't you try the game and let me know what your score was? All right, until next time, when we'll be doing another game from the analog library. And I want to say one thing. I had to use Stella to play this game. I do have a camera that I can point at my 130XE running in HDMI, but the colors are all washed out. Unlike the Atari STE, for my STE video where the colors look great. For some reason, the way the TV scan works, it doesn't look very good. So these games for the Atari 8-bits have to be done with my current hardware setup using Stella. Now, I do have two Atari 8-bits sitting right next to me. The 130XE with the Ultimate cart, and then an 800XL with the Ultimate 4 megabytes in it, so I can play pretty much anything, including the full version of Atari Blast, which we'll get to at some point. But for some reason, the colors look washed out, and I apologize for that. But emulation for this game, just as good. In fact, it looks incredible. It looks incredible. This is such a great, clean looking graphical game. Anyway, again, until next time, we will travel back into the vertical blank for more analog computer games from the magazine. All right, thank you very much. Thanks for watching this episode of The Games of Analog Magazine. Blast! Until next time, into the vertical blank.
8-Bit Rocket Studios production.
Into the vertical blank.